Hello, welcome back to this video series that is taking a deep dive into this book, Detox, The Spiritual Path of Jesus for 21st Century Men. My name is Craig Pesty-Strobel. I'm the author of this book. And in today's video, we're going to do a little question and answer session, some questions that have been generated. And so I invite you to go ahead and get your favorite beverage, sit back, and let's talk a spell. All right. So one of the first questions that I have here about this book, Detox, is a pretty basic one. It's why did you write this book? Well, I wrote this book to cure a sickness that has reached epidemic proportions. And it's called Toxic Masculinity by many people. From gun-toting militia members to rampant sexual harassment and abuse, to white supremacy, to mass shootings, the symptoms are in the headlines daily. At the time of this recording, known pedophiles and sexual predators occupy the highest levels of government in the United States. The Department of Defense has been renamed Department of War, indicating a move towards overt aggression, and has acted upon that aggressive stance by invading a sovereign country and kidnapping its president, who is admittedly guilty of many crimes, the same as our own. All of this has been accepted and applauded by Christian nationalist churches, which preach a hyper-nationalistic, violence-embracing interpretation of Christianity that cannot be found anywhere in the New Testament. Jesus has been left in the dust. So I felt someone needed to find that Jesus, pick him up, dust him off, and reintroduce him to the world. So the next question relates to this. It's how does Jesus supply a cure? Well, Jesus demonstrated and taught his male followers a masculinity that's life-giving, that seeks the welfare of others, that respects and cares for the earth and all its creatures. Jesus showed them a way out of the systems of power and domination, of human abuse and exploitation that he called the world. He offered a way for men to rescue and cleanse their souls and minds from the perversions of these systems, and gave them a new way of living that was grounded in the radical way of love. And it was radical in the sense of that was the actual root identity of human beings. It's the root identity of the one that he introduced as his Father, the God who is love. And his love that he introduced was the kind that made a person willing to lay down their life for their friends. It's the kind of love that you cannot dismiss. It's the kind of love that makes us as human beings, and in its absence, breaks us. So the next question is kind of to the point here. We have had 2,000 years of Christianity. Why do we have toxic forms of masculinity among supposed Christian men? Well, this is something worthy of an entire book to delve into. G.K. Chesterton famously said, "It's not that Christianity has been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and not tried." The path of Jesus demands change and courage to face up to our dysfunctional and destructive society. It requires of us to live our lives for the betterment and well-being of others around us and far away from us. We live in a society that is intentionally designed and constructed to accumulate wealth in the hands of a few. Our capitalist industrialist society, by design, reduces individuals into entities divorced from the outside world, and it reduces the world around us to a pile of materials and raw resources to be consumed and manipulated by those individual isolated entities. And this leads to an alienation between the members of society as well as alienation of people from the natural world. So whenever anyone or anything is considered to be expendable, consumable, or whose worth is measured simply in terms of their utility to someone else, you have denied and canceled their God-given status and reality as beloved creations of God, beings endowed with beauty and purpose, worth and tremendous value. So the form of masculinity that emerges out of this system is toxic to the created purposes and intentions of God as revealed in Jesus Christ. So the next question is, do you really think you can cure toxic masculinity? Well, hopefully it's not me curing it. But I can plant seeds and offer an inoculation of what Jesus offered the world, particularly as he worked with his male followers. I simply challenge men to consider carefully what Jesus taught and how it will change their lives and hopefully change the direction in which the world is heading. Sort of related to that is the next question. Why didn't you write a book for women? Well, I'm a man, and far too many men have been telling women what Jesus wants them to do. I speak out of my experience as a man to other men. Toxic masculinity is our problem as men, and we need to address it head on and deal with it. As we do this, actually our relationships with other men, with women, with our families, and with others, other creatures, and other beings around us who are far away from us or right next to us will change. And that's what Jesus asks of us. Next question. Aren't you being a bit idealistic and naive? Am I tilting at windmills? Well, I hope I'm in good company. Jesus stood up to the inequities and dysfunctionalities of his own culture in the midst of an empire based on militaristic domination. He persisted nonetheless. And his sublimely courageous way of life still rings true 2,000 years later, if only, as G.K. Chesterton muses, we choose to try it. Okay then, the next question, How does this book differ from other books about male spirituality? Well, Detox is the first book to approach the issue of male spirituality strictly from the perspective of what Jesus taught his male disciples. It's not based on Jungian typology, nor does it look for masculine archetypes by looking at various male characters in the Bible, who too often are examples of the masculinity to which Jesus was trying to cure and provide an alternative. Each chapter is devoted and dedicated to pulling out the teachings of Jesus as they've been preserved and setting them before us as if they were the very presence of Jesus speaking to us today. Jesus himself, free of centuries of theological and doctrinal accretions. The basic idea is to look at what Jesus said and ask ourselves, how do we live this out today? What needs to change in our ways of thinking and living? And finally, what is your hope for this book? Well, my hope is that men of all ages, all races, all ethnicities, and political persuasions will read it and consider carefully how truly living and practicing the way of Jesus just might provide true fulfillment of life and satisfy their hearts at the deepest level, and in the process will benefit and bless the world around them. I actually believe deeply, that men actually want to be sources of blessings to their family, to their friends, and to the world around them. They want to live lives that serve others. But society has not lifted up that ideal, and instead has inserted these images and all these media infiltrations that are really toxic masculinity. It stirs up anger, it stirs up heavy emotions. But I know that those are not truly fulfilling to people. There is always an emptiness. Jesus looked at man and saw beautiful creation that was intended to be sources of blessing and grace and beauty to the world. Let's get back to that vision. That's my hope for the book. And so I invite you to go ahead and purchase this book. Purchase some copies for your friends. Tell people about it. Direct them to these videos, to the author's website that's found at the end of this video. And let's start a revolution of the Jesus path for 21st century men and the rest of the world. See you next time.